Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Interneticus. My name is Alexander Gordon Johannes. Now, it's it's the 1st of January 2016, and I'm just listening to School of Movies interviews Lou Reads the Internet, whilst my Windows 8 laptop upgrades to Windows 10, and the boiler heats up so that I can actually have a shower, and I decided I needed to make a video, because basically, I write some very weird stuff. And I'm gonna kind of talk to a certain amount of detail about what some of that stuff entails. So, fair warning, this stuff is gonna get very nsfw, very not safe for work. Seriously, if you're at work, close this down. You don't want to be watching or listening to this at work. This one is gonna be probably more interesting than the other things I've done before. Indeed, this might kind of have the sort of the comedy of I think was it Armstrong and Miller or Little Britain who had the sketches where it was just like some officious looking guy with his family just reading out a statement saying no, I totally apologize for doing that dreadful thing, as everybody's there trying to sort of say, yes, we just want to put this behind us and everything's normal and brush this under the rug. This is going to have the comedy of kind of just watching a man cringe and go, yeah, didn't mean that. But basically, I write some very weird stuff, and I'm quite a weird individual myself. So somebody, because of the shit I write, somebody did kind of say, oh, well, you're a cannibal fetishist. And at the time I was like, well, yeah, so what, there's fours. And then I listened to the first, 20 minutes of this interview with Lou Reads the Internet, and I'm like, no, there's a difference. There is a difference, okay? So this is me saying why I do the weird writing. Okay. Yes, I am drinking water because last night I drank 3 cans of this Desperados tequila flavored beer, a bottle of WKD, and a bottle of Smirnoff Ice. So yes, this is my trying to kind of replenish the water lost during last night. So I write really fucked up shit. Okay, and I kind of like stuff. Okay, let's. I don't want to, be the thing that I am apologizing for or explaining about. But I suppose I best give some sort of indication. There is basically there is a race of tentacled aliens who are who've just got like a ring of eyes on stalks around their heads. Okay, it's like 5 deep. Okay, and they have just a cavernous maw on top of their head. It's like they've got the eyes, and then it's just teeth, and straight into their stomach. And then from out of that stomach comes like a little black thing that's attached to them that they fly with, and they've also got teeth in their asses. They are designed to... and they've got tarantula legs. They've got 8 spidery legs. They are designed to be the terrifying monsters, right? The thing is, I've kind of got a morbid fascination with terrifying monsters. And the other thing is that in the fiction that I write about, there are creatures that you can become one of, and they can heal, and they find pain pleasurable, and kind of a whole thing with kind of my multiverse stuff is this idea of power imbalanced relationships. And that is something that I will admit, I do personally find interesting, is the idea of a power imbalanced relationships. And it's sort of, I suppose it's almost like, you know, the same sort of impulse that's sort of like, well, how does the TARDIS fly? You know, is sort of going, well, how can you have a relationship that is so skew-with, that so should not work, and yet somehow have that be a relatively functional relationship? And so, kind of, for me, you know, you got these monsters, these alien monsters, okay, that are just tentacles and teeth, and they're coming to get you. And yeah, they keep a humanoid civilization as a cattle race. Essentially, the idea that of this race that they're called the Contravoxi is that they are post-scarcity. They can travel the universe, going from planet to planet. They can travel the multiverse even, going from Earth to Earth to Earth. And they will just invade, sack the world, and kind of farm. And it's okay. This is they've got that aspect, the sort of the predatory, invasive. So these are the alien invaders. These are essentially me saying, okay, I'm gonna do aliens. I want them to be the big aliens that you goddamn fear. Okay. So they... Okay, what's terrifying about a zombie is not necessarily that you become it. It's not that it can kill you. It's the fact that it kills you slowly. It's the fact that infection takes time. It's the fact that you don't... It's not snap... It's not swipe, you're dead. It's, you know, like, it's people getting torn apart alive. That's what's terrifying. What's terrifying is that it's not a quick death. I mean, especially for an atheist, you know, and an atheist who has spent the past year kind of feeling suicidal. The idea of death in and of itself isn't that scary, but the idea of a long, drawn out, slow, horrible death, that's terrifying. That's nightmarish. So you've got the Contravoxi as this alien species who don't use guns, who don't need weaponry like that. This to them is sport. You know, it's sort of the sort of intergalactic equivalent of the poshos coming down on their horses to have their dogs tear people apart, except it's them going down to tear people apart. And you know, they are very much a metaphor for the, class-like situation that we find ourselves in, and that I very much have an issue with. There is a lot going on here than just creepy monsters, because these are a post-scarcity civilization. They've clearly got the ability to feed everyone and have nobody suffer. They've got the ability to make vat-grown meat. That's how all the humanoid civilizations that they have as their cattle races are supported. The humanoid civilizations are basically living, and the humanoid civilizations are called the Blaguri. They are living a post-scarcity society. They have, the best free healthcare, the best, free food, shelter, everything. But between the ages of 25 and 35, if a tentacled alien comes up to you, it's generally expected that you say yes to being eaten the fuck alive. And the entire plot is going, hold on, no, this is wrong. The entire plot is saying, this thing is wrong. But then how do you change that? How do you bring that to a conclusion? Because, again, I've spent... This was written at the end of a year of being interested in politics and just seeing, in May, seeing this great hope, yes, we're gonna do this, fuck. And then, Jeremy Corbyn, yes, he's gonna get elected, and everybody is just shitting on him. So kind of, for me, the idea that, I needed a win. I needed to end the status quo of terribleness. But at the same time, I couldn't have it all be, yay, now the Controvoxi are gonna just eat vat-grown meat and everybody's gonna be happy and friends forever. It had to be horrible. It had to be bitter-sweet. Story-wise, it could not end with, and everything is fine. Everything is fine. The Controvoxi decide they're all going to be vegetarians. No. Society doesn't change overnight. So what they do have, however, is these creatures who can heal unlike pain. Which is when you enter the whole power imbalanced thing. And which is where I now need to get into the explanations and excuses and apologies. Okay, right. I will say first, this started with a story called The Consumption of Me, about the consumption of meat. So, this, I mean, there is the script for a series called Green-Eyed Nothing, which I am doing again for this as prose. But Green-Eyed Nothing is kind of a heavy-handed metaphor for the patriarchy is fucking bad and oppressing people. It just kind of does that by showing that men have the power and do horrible things to women, and so that's why that's why it's taken a long time to get that adapted from this rough draft of scripts to being a story that can be considered canon, because it, I sort of have this, feeling of feeling conflicted about whether this is a statement against something or whether it's just representing it and being it, and but in general, the kind of the gory aspects, the sort of cannibal aspects, began with The Consumption of Me, and in that aspect, I think it's entirely sort of um, acceptable, because it's the author representing the author as, you know, the victim of the circumstance. And again, there is a kind of happy ending at the end, albeit with the sting of yay, abusive relationship. But that was written at a very, very sort of weird time. And yeah, that again is one of the things that I'm not proud of, because yeah, as I say, it was written at a weird time, and it ends on a note that isn't healthy. You know, obviously the story isn't healthy, but the idea of, yeah, so that's happened, and now basically that kind of thing could happen again. And also of note is that in that circumstance, that circumstance is different from the controvoxai circumstance, because with the controvoxai, there is a difference between essentially what's happening to the Vulguri and the humans, who are, you know, either they have been, you know, essentially captured, or otherwise, you know, brainwashed into thinking that this lifestyle is acceptable, and then they get eaten alive, and it's very much a horrible thing. And the sort of flip side of the people who are these creatures who can heal and find pain pleasurable, and for them, you know, this is something that can almost be sort of the equivalent to a different form of sexual act, because, you know, they are submitting to another. The process gives them a great amount of pleasure, because they experience pain as a kind of pleasure, and being eaten alive is gotta be one of the most painful things to go through, and thus, if you're that kind of creature, one of the most pleasurable things to go through. And so, you know, there is a clear difference there. You know, there is a difference between, no, this is just horrible, monstrous shit. This is stuff that needs to go. This cannot be, and this stuff isn't. It's certainly not savory. I mean, throughout the entire time, you know, there's the sort of the audience perspective character is saying, no, this is wrong, this is fucked up, what the fuck are you doing? And it's only when he himself experiences it that he kind of goes, oh shit, maybe they've got a point. And even then, it's not so much, well, yeah, this is perfectly fine then, as it is, well, this is better than the system that was there before. It's not that this system is perfect or that it is nice. It's just that it's a heck of a lot better than the alternative, and, you know, maybe in the future, you know, a less horrific system can be, you know, achieved. And obviously we've now, but by that point in the story, you've seen that change can happen, and so, you know, that there is hope that things can change otherwise. But those are sort of the story reasons why, you know, like, for me, you know, there is a representation that, you know, doing this, you know, against another's will, because, you know, you're brainwashing them, or you're literally kind of seizing them against their will. That's horrible. And also, if if fundamentally they can't recover from it, if fundamentally they aren't going to enjoy it, then yeah, absolutely never. And even then, probably shouldn't do that. But again, also, we're talking about the difference in that scenario, as opposed to the consumption of meat and the green-eyed nothing, is that in that scenario, you're talking about tentacled aliens and humans. Whereas with the consumption of meat and green-eyed nothing, it's humans and humans. It's people and people, and there is no aspect or suggestion of pleasure there. It is just, this is a horrible thing. And so that's why those are ones that I don't feel happy about, that I have that I'm not proud of, because there are some quite legitimate reasons why those are problematic, albeit with the consumption of meat, the fact that I'm the victim in that one, I think kind of makes that a little different. But with the Controvoxi Survivor, with that one, there is there is a whole journey and arc, kind of looking at it from all different angles, examining it from every different point of view of this civilization, and I think that's why I'm sort of that's why I'm kind of proud of that, is that this showcases the weirdness in a way that lets you judge it for yourself, but that also shows why the characters are okay with this. In that there is no looking at something horrible from afar and being told, oh well, it's totally okay. It's you have the characters looking at the things from afar, going, that's fucked up, and then they experience it, and their experiences make them think differently about it, but that you are still free to judge it however you wish, because you're not told. You're merely shown how others feel about it. But even so, I feel I have to. Well, not necessarily have to, because as I say, people who do things that I'm like, hey, hold on, what the fuck are you talking about? Which is why I'm kind of doing this, is to kind of say, hey, I'm not like those guys. I just write weird stuff. Of course, the other reason why I sort of write sort of cannibalistic sort of stuff, although it's not cannibalistic when it's bloody tentacled aliens. The reason why I write things like that is that sorry, just need to check this. Yeah. The reason why I write things where people are kind of the cattle is that I'm a lapsed vegetarian. I basically for a long time was feeling very conflicted about eating meat, and then I tried to stop eating meat, and turns out quite fucking hard, you know. I mean, when you're having fantasies about eating chickens, you know, it's kind of at that point that you kind of have to go, okay, what the fuck am I doing? And so basically, right, the thing is that, you know, the chickens are already dead, you know. It would be different if it was I was going out and I was hunting and killing my own chickens, but the chickens are already dead. You know, like, maybe I can affect sales. You know, I can be one less sale of chicken, okay, or whatever. And that will affect sales and, you know, whatever. But chickens are already dead. Me not eating chicken is not going to magically bring chickens back to life. And so I basically decided that all I was doing was sending was sending a message, and I'm a writer. I can send messages better without having to make myself eat, without having to make myself fantasize about eating chicken and kind of do things that generally, like, I don't think it's a healthy thing to kind of say, okay, I've decided that this is against my morality, and I am now fantasizing about doing that thing. I don't think that's a healthy place to be in. So that's why I decided to start eating meat again. And so, being a lapsed vegetarian, you know, I do have this kind of perspective of, you know, eating meat is pretty fucking horrible. You know. But I still like it. And I suppose to a certain extent I sort of want to present that whole, you know, eating meat is pretty fucking horrible, but you can still like it to people. I suppose that's fundamentally it. I want to present that perspective to people, and sort of let them see sort of the situation how I see it to a certain extent, that, you know, that meat is a horrible practice, and that, you know, people do it because they like it, despite the fact that, you know, to any not to a normal person it's kind of, you know, immoral. So, you know, that sort of lapsed vegetarian aspect is a part of that cannot be dismissed. But equally, there are some other aspects to it that are important too. Sorry, I got things stuck in my teeth. So, okay, I think the first is, with it's something that, you know, this is why you have so much violence in video games, right? Violence is an easy form of conflict, okay? In that it is a form of conflict that is visceral, and that doesn't really get boring, but that can be done repetitively, you know. This is why so many video games are kill this thing, kill this thing, kill this thing, because it is a simple, repetitive task that feels tough and challenging and rewarding because our brains are wired that way. Our brains have evolved to make the idea and act of killing, especially for survival in these contexts, to be a sort of pleasurable experience because, you know, fundamentally, back in the olden days, if you didn't, you know, sorry, when the way we use olden days probably makes it a bit too modern compared to the days I'm talking about. You know, back in prehistoric times, you know, when we were sort of at risk of being, you know, torn up by lions or whatever, you know, being able to kill the thing that was in front of you was the difference between life and death. And so, you know, as a result, evolutionary speaking, you learn the human race likes it, because if we didn't, we wouldn't have made it here. So, you know, being able to kill again and again and again and again and again, liking the idea of violence as a repetitive form of conflict, that is built into us, and that's why, you know, games use it. And so also, you know, I'm a writer. Violence is, conflict has to be a part of things. So there is that. And the other aspect is that I am shit at descriptions. Okay, I am appalling at descriptions. So for me, kind of going into the violence and the gore is sort of like testing my abilities. And at the same time, I think that because I am so sparse with my descriptions, that kind of, but by the very nature of how sparse I am, I can't really go overboard, except with the consumption of me, where things did get pretty detailed. And as I say, there are many reasons why that one is just appalling. But so you know, violence is a easily repetitive conflict, and it's kind of a test, a way of me expanding and exploring my descriptive skills. And here's where we get into the I suppose less sacred aspects. In that there is a sort of a grim fascination with it, in the sense of like, I mean, this is sort of almost, you know, why horror is fascinating. You know, why are things scary? Well, you know, violence on the page, or at least when I write it, is kind of grimly fascinating, because sort of it's like I spend so long building up these characters, and so it's almost interesting seeing what it's like to see them, you know, tested, to see them destroyed. It's it's sort of the I have created this. Now let's see what happens when I destroy it. Like I remember my first Minecraft world. Okay, this took years of my life. Okay. And I was showing this off to somebody. I'd like, built glass all around it and stuff, and I dug everywhere, built so many tons of things. I cheated, and I was showing this off to someone, and they were just like, blow it up. And then one day, I did. I just set like TNT all over it and just watched it go. And to a certain extent, I suppose, when I am, taking, a character, even if that character is myself, and I am subjecting them to kind of extreme physical violence in the form of fiction, and I specify fiction. There is almost, the same sort of fascination with the sort of deconstructing this character, deconstructing this thing that you have made. And it's one thing to sort of, I suppose, to take a Watchmen analogy, it's one thing to sort of, carefully build a watch and then carefully unpin it, and it's quite another, and then carefully take it apart, and it's quite another thing to carefully build this watch and then just take a hammer to it. And so that's almost, what I'm doing, and also, I am a quite self-loathing individual, which I suppose this video is kind of evidence of it in and of itself. In that this is pretty much a video of me saying, "Yeah, I know I'm fucking weird, and I'm sorry about that. Please don't hate me. I'm not like those other weirdos." Which is ridiculous, because You have to have a thick skin to be on YouTube. I have gotten so many pleas that I kill myself. So it's weird that I'm here saying, please don't judge me, when I know that you judge me. I know that people judge me. I know that they want me dead. But I am quite a self-loathing individual, and because all characters I write are essentially, I put myself into every one of my characters. There is kind of something, masochistic about destroying this part of myself, about making this part of myself suffer. I mean, I literally just last night, at 2 a.m. On the 1st of January, I wrote a sort of short piece called New Year, New Me, in which a representation of my own sort of psyche or subconscious, the Farshnook, literally tortures me, and that for me was kind of a way of forcing myself to kind of, think of a plan for the future, think of a resolution as to what the fuck I'm going to do with my life. Almost, using my writing to illustrate an internal struggle, you know, to illustrate, you know, the kind of the subconscious, that side of myself that's saying, no, come on, you need to think of something, you need to be something, you can't just sit in this situation, you have to improve. And so kind of externalizing that in the form of writing was kind of you know, an interesting way to exercise that particular need and explore it. But you know, that very much particularly was me just having a complete go at myself and just almost externalizing my self-loathing and saying, okay, this character represents all the scorn I pour on myself, and this is me doing it to myself, and that felt good, you know, which, you know, clearly I have issues. You know, the idea that you can like to write a piece of fiction where you are where you are smashed apart by a fucking sledgehammer wielded by a representation of your psyche. The idea that can be helpful, you know, clearly is indicative of some issues. Then again, so is writing a story where a sort of magical older male eats you alive. That's clearly indicative of some issues too. Yeah, although with the consumption of me, I absolutely know exactly what issues that one was referring to, because those were the ones that caused me to write it. But in general, it is this cathartic sense of watching myself be destroyed. And I suppose, you know, before I begin, I will say I am, you know, an aspiring feminist. I'm, you know, on a good day I am one, but I have bad days, and I know that I'm not the best feminist. But I do aspire to be one and stuff, so I'm not sort of, you know, I just want to make it clear, but before we begin, that the things I'm about to sort of talk about and reference are in no way sort of a statement of political intent. This is purely talking about myself again. So this past year has been rough. 2015 was very rough. And part of the reason it was rough was that I found out that that basically I have a random, that I have an unknown idiopathic genetic mutation that that means that basically my body doesn't create enough testosterone. Before I started getting treatment, had less testosterone than the average woman, and as a result of that, at some point, my body got confused, and I grew breasts. And, you know, obviously not understanding this, not knowing this, just, you know, feeling like a loser, because obviously I had a lot of bullying for other issues. Sort of not understanding this, or really kind of, you know, comprehending what was going on, but just feeling like there was something wrong with me. And, you know, having people confuse me for being a woman more and more and more, and with this pressure in society that, you know, man up, be a man, you know, the idea that emasculation is this great existential doubt for a man. It's a great existential crisis, and that we do attack people for not subscribing to the standards of masculinity. But having this creeping sense that something isn't right, and seeing more and more in the mirror a woman when there shouldn't be, and especially now, knowing what I know, and knowing that there is something about me that shouldn't be, I am a cis man. My genetics got confused, and so there are aspects of myself that are not what they should be. To a certain extent, you could maybe interpret that when I am, writing, female characters, and I am subjecting them to treatment, that almost to a certain extent, it's arguable, it's possible that there is a certain element of my self-loathing that is saying the parts of myself that are female are wrong, and that they need to be punished and destroyed. Because physically there are parts of myself that are female that I do want gone. That's probably the most in-depth and sort of weird aspect. But I feel I should definitely add, all of this stuff I'm talking about is just with regards to writing fiction. Okay. And specifically this whole sort of Freudian excuse for hating women particularly pertains to when I write women characters. It is hating the sort of femaleness inside me, and that is definitely something that I'm gonna have to sort of deal with as I get older. But that is definitely something that is just a sort of factor with regards to my own writing. And again, it's me attacking myself. It is me attacking myself, a part of myself that I don't like, but that might be exhibited in a way that that could quite legitimately be unpleasant to somebody who doesn't understand. But then again, I hate myself generally. So I think generally, I just sort of want to see myself suffer, and sort of, it's very egotistical to put yourself in a piece of fiction, despite the fact that you always do. When you're writing something, every single character is you. You are every single character, there really isn't any other way to be. When you are writing something, you are thinking up ideas, you are thinking up actions, you are being that character. in order to put them onto the page and onto the paper, which is just a fact of writing. So I mean, that's something we don't really think about, a lot of the time. It is this idea that, actually, J.K. Rowling is Lord Voldemort. She wrote that character onto the page. That character is a part of, her somewhere, or at least she has the power to do that character justice. And so for me, whenever I'm writing any characters, whenever there is a sense of sort of perhaps a little over violence, which again, I'm not really someone who is that hot on descriptions. I don't really do as much to the extent that you're almost lucky if you get a rough sketch of they were in a bar at a table. So I think almost with my stuff you're not likely to get so much violence that is unbearable. But if there ever are any moments of violence that you're kind of thinking, ooh, that's a bit, ooh, then sort of the reason that's there is that's me sort of saying, yeah, fucking hate myself. And yeah, I fully acknowledge that kind of hating myself isn't a healthy thing. But it's a thing. And sort of I feel like writing is kind of a healthier way to express that self-hatred than any other method. Like some people might drink, some people might do drugs or cut themselves. I happen to write very weird fiction about myself being destroyed. Yeah, that's kind of why I write the things that I write, and why the things that I write are often so very, very weird. And yeah, so kind of just wanted to say, sorry about that. Sorry about the weird stuff. It's just me having a go at myself. Just and kind of needing conflict. Wanting to explore my descriptive skills and sort of needing to showcase why the villains are villainous, and also exercising the whole lapsed vegetarian needing to show that eating meat is a bad thing, whilst at the same time exploring the whole power imbalanced relationships sort of thing, which again I feel like fiction is where that should belong. Power imbalanced relationships should remain safely within the bounds of fiction. And yeah, that's where they are, and that's where they will stay. So yeah. Anyway, I apologise for everything. Now let's move forward into 2016, and hopefully things can be okay from there. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Alexander Gordon-Johans, obviously. I have a blog where you can read my writings and see the original sort of fictions that I write, and that's called that's farshnuke.blogspot.co.uk, farshnuke.blogspot.co.uk. It might be farsh-nuke.blogspot.co.uk, but the point is, search Farshnuke, find it. I have a Twitter @farshnuke, or twitter.com/farshnuke, farshnuke. I've got a Reddit, reddit.com/r/Farshnuke official. That's FARSHNUKEOFFICIAL. I have a Tumblr. Search Farshnuke, FARSHNUKE. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Farshnuke, FARSHNUKE. Go there and donate however much you feel like. Obviously, the more money you donate to me, kind of, the more I can spend on reviewing things. Because, you know, like, having no money kind of prevents me from, you know, reviewing things as they come out. And also, like, having money means that, you know, I have a better quality of life, and I feel better, and, you know, have food that's not just one meal a day and sandwiches. So anyway, yeah, if you could donate to me, that would be awesome, but obviously I entirely understand, you know, money's tight, because, hey, you're watching me. And also, if you do happen to want to help out this channel, then please give me a like, favorite, leave a comment. The ones that aren't totally insulting will be, you know, actually allowed to be shown. I'll get round to them in due time, probably. And either way, the comments are always, you know, appreciated, because, you know, even if you just stopped by to tell me to kill myself, you know, at least you've chosen to spend your time here talking to me, you know. That means something. And if you could please, you know, whitelist me on your adblock program, or, you know, not use adblock stuff on my programs. Obviously subscribe to me, that would be awesome. And just generally tell your friends about my stuff. Share my videos. Drive attention to my channel, even if it's, you know, not necessarily the most positive attention. It's still helping me go up through the rankings and stuff, and, you know, that's always nice. And generally, kind of as a last point, I just want to be very clear here. I am anti-austerity, I am anti-guns in America, and I believe that climate change is the biggest problem facing all of humankind at the moment. So we really need to crack on with solving that problem, okay? See you, ladies and gentlemen.